Hi everyone, this is Fredrik Wormling again, and in this video we are going to look at how you can use Enrichr for analyzing CRISPR screen data. And Enrichr is a really interesting tool that has a lot of components to it. So I'm going to paste a gene list here. You can see 55 genes, and I'm going to press submit here. There's plenty of settings you can do. Or different ways of putting data in here, but now I'm coming with my 55 genes, and just for reference, these are not the same as I use in other videos, so I'm trying to use a little bit different gene sets, so we see a little bit different data. But that means you can't really compare the hits I get from different softwares or tools here. And this is just filled with different readouts that you get from it, and I absolutely don't know how all of them are working, but there's a couple of them that we use some occasionally. One being this consensus transcription factor binding from ENCODE and CHIA. In this you can always easily download things, both as sort of images but also as tables. So here, for example, you can see then different transcription factors, and when you hover over here you see which genes that are sort of linked to this transcription factor, or which genes that this transcription factor seems to be or could be involved in controlling, right? You can often export these sort of tables, and so you can save them. So here is sort of the transcription factor, ENCODE, different p-value things, and then you get your list of genes. So if you want to work with this in other ways. You can also make this clustergram very nicely. I often go down with these to get sort of more resolution in them. So this could be ways of sort of showing the genes, and then you can see, okay, here are different transcription factors and which of these genes they are binding to, and depending if it can look slightly different depending if you sort of shows p-value or z-score, and you can fiddle around with this a bit, and if you want, then you can press here to make a PNG or SVG that you can use for other purposes, or for illustration purposes. So that's the transcription part, and again, there's a lot here. You have pathways, so similar like you get in many of these tools that I'm showing, so Reactome, Wiki, pathways, KEGG, etc. You can sort of look at these, and again, these genes are linked with p53, and you get a lot of information here. Ontologies, so Go terms, and other similar things. I think this one sometimes could be kind of interesting to look at, looking at sort of compartments, cellular compartments, and where things are to be found. That could give you some understanding. And again, I mean, a lot of these tools are helping you to come up with ideas, trying to see, are there patterns? Is there something that's kind of interesting to understand? And so as a way of understanding what's going on, I think these are, or sort of how to explain your data set that comes out from your CRISPR screen. I think this clicking around and doing these sort of exercises could be very useful. I jump to the MISC here. So again, there's plenty of these. This one I've used some time. I think it could be a kind of curious way of sort of presenting your genes based on sort of which chromosomes they are found on. It could be or maybe not relevant for your project or not, but it's something that I found useful sometimes. So this is the basic Enrichr, and again, there's so much different data sets in here. You just need yourself to sort of click around and see what seems interesting. But what is also found here are a lot of other tools here. So this one, for example, CHIA KJ, tries to identify transcription factors also that could be linked to this gene set, but here there's also a little bit of information about how transcription factors are related to each other. Again, this might not be relevant for your project, or it could be, right? But it's at least some potentially interesting data to look at and think about. This drug seeker is also really cool. As I understand, it's based on a paper where they take this one cell line, so keep that in mind, it's a one cell line data set where they put a lot of drugs on top of the cell line and then did RNA-seq to look at sort of which genes were regulated. And so here we come in with our data set, and it found one drug that at 10 micromolar for 24 hours in this particular cell line downregulated 9 out of our genes, right? And you can click here to see which genes they were. So in this case it was only one hit, but sometimes you get so many hits here, and that could sort of give you ideas about potential ways to target these gene set or this effect that you're looking for. So if your CRISPR screen depleted these genes, so if you knock out these genes, you achieve something that was interesting for you. Maybe these drugs could do something similar. So again, we're on a fishing expedition to some extent, right? But here I think these could be really interesting ways to approach this. Ruma gene here, Ruma, however it should be explained, identifies papers that has gene sets that overlaps to some extent. So we inputted 56 genes, and here 34 of those were found in this paper. A lot of papers here. I mean, they found 5,700 papers. So this could be a way of sort of trying to identify papers and identify gene sets that could be interesting for you. This one is also very cool, I think. Here you can find images that has links to your genes. So here, for example, we had 5 of our genes, BAX, caspase-9, p53, etc. And then it sort of shows you images or figures from papers and show you the paper and then the images. And this could be a good way of, if you're trying to understand what your genes are doing, to sort of, okay, here is a sort of link. Here, let's see, here is another one, like, there it's the image. It could be a way for you to sort of start building up your presentations linked to your genes and sort of trying to understand, and also trying to understand how these are linked by looking into, okay, what has literature told us about this. So that is Enrichr and the linked sort of tools to this one. I want to highlight, I don't know these people, but there's a lot of really interesting bioinformatic tools coming out from the Mayan lab here. So have a look at what they're doing. I think it's at Mount Sinai. I'm really impressed by a lot of the things and tools they're making. And again, you really need to sit and click through these sort of things. But I think especially when you're in a situation like you often are when you perform the CRISPR screen, you have a set of genes and you're trying to understand them. And then I think it's a good approach to sort of click through a lot of different tools and trying to understand, sort of come up with ideas. Oh, is there a link to mitochondria? Is there a link to, X, Y, Z? And I think Enrichr is definitely a place where you can spend several hours with your gene set. So with that, I thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and as you see in this set of videos, there's plenty of them. So I hope you find something interesting to watch. So thank you.